This is on. Are we on? Welcome to LibernetLIVE. Shortly to be changing our brand name soon. We are a project aiming to marry blockchain technology and books. And tonight I'm with my trusty, faithful sidekick, Jack Farrell, to discuss basically, like, informally some myths and facts relating to the whole crypto world, because I have started to sort of see other people sort of, come out with their problems and complaints with the world, and I would just like to sort of go through some of the some things that would be worth talking about. You were just telling me something very interesting about the Runescape party hat in relation to NFTs. Am I right?
I think this is probably a bit of an important thing. I kind of like it's. It sort of relates to NFTs as well, not just in the way that you might think in the first way. So, on RuneScape, good old game made by Jagex or whoever, and like 2005, something like that, I think is when the game may have come out. Somewhere early on. A long
time ago now, isn't it?
It was like a browser game, and now it's kind of a bit more. And well, it's a bit more. It's much more in other ways, obviously too, but. When the game was early, I guess I suppose could get. I think you could get something before the party hat as well. I think it was like Christmas crackers, right? Oh, of course, that's where the party hat comes from, right? And you can get different colors. You can get blue and orange and fucking red and green and shit, right? So
let's put the screen up, because you were telling. I've never heard of this. I've never actually heard of this. It's
have a look at some images.
Points of cool. I'm sure a lot of people here do know what NFTs are at this point, but they're non-fungible tokens, which are basically digitally artificially scarce products. And a lot of people are sort of like, well, what's the point? What's the point in that? Luckily, I'm not actually getting that as much as I was before. I think it has sort of died. I think people are just sort of like, oh wow, sounds like a new frontier. Yeah, these are party hats,
and that's what you get. You get a character with a party hat.
Right.
So if we just leave that screen there, that's nice. It was. Removed. Party hat was removed from RuneScape after an update, but it still exists in game for those who like previously actually owned one. So obviously the production of them. This is it's funny how the language works there. The production of like creating those party hats, the game they stopped doing that.
Right.
But you can still trade the party hats if you own one, right? Or if you want to buy one. So they literally did nothing. You can open the Christmas cracker, which has. It might. I don't think it always has a party hat, right? I think it's a risk to get one, or you don't know the color, or I think that's what the risk is, or something. So you can buy a Christmas cracker, or for more money, you can use using in-game currency, not anything that you put in of real money, only your own time and your hours of actually playing the game and enjoying the game or whatever, right? You're building up a character, you're getting levels up, and you're getting equipment and weapons and shit like that. You're getting armor and helmets, and you're fighting harder things, and you're leveling up. And you're getting money from these things, and you're probably selling some things, and you're doing a trade and selling some things, right? And you're making up some money that you would spend maybe on some other armor to get better, or some other fighting where you might want to like do player versus player things and fucking wreck some shit, right? Just wreck some scrubs, right? You could do all kinds of stuff with the money that you're making with the time that you're spending on it, right? You could. This is the thing. At one point in time, RuneScape brought out some kind of a grand exchange system where prices would get just sort of put on items, I think, and you could just buy them at this sort of like place or sell them at this place as well.
Yeah.
Which was one central location above a town called Varrock. It's amazing how I remember that. And so this was before, right? Before this time, when there was actually evaluation set by the game's creators, the players would have their own kind of due to like that society having an idea and that community having an idea of what it means to have a party hat due to the fact that it's rare. I think prices were as much as like 300 million coins, which is not like cheap because it's like I'm not really sure what it's relative to as such, but I think like some of the most powerful kind of like armors and weapons you can go for a few million or a few 100 million, 100 million or so. So spending 300 million on a party hat, like you need to be like pretty fucking rich. I don't think there's many players who at the time had 1 billion coins, for example. Do you know what I mean? Where I think when I played, you'd get as much as like near, you know, a couple 100,000, I think. I really can't remember exactly what the prices were, but the point is it was fucking expensive, and it's like you could have spent that amount of money on something else. But all they're doing is getting a little change to their appearance, much like an NFT, which is an image, right?
I mean, this is before cryptocurrency itself, because cryptocurrency was created
way
in 2008,
before.
2010, you know?
Yeah.
So this is also surprising. I mean,
and even before this, you've got other video games that would have been online based, or even just single player based. It's still that kind of like currency represents a value, but in itself is actually worthless in some way. It's only because a community has agreed it sort of subconsciously. It's not the same as wood and fuel and water.
Yes. Well, that's the kind of the difference between, like, I suppose, like, you have basic necessities, maybe it's essential to human survival, which are like, you know, just minimal food, minimal water, you know, like shelter and stuff. But above that, as creatures that are, you know, as creatures of conceptualization, we of course got this, most of our currencies are most of our values are governed by symbolism. And that's kind of that. So I guess the myth that we're trying to tackle here is that there's no actual point in buying an NFT when, you know, this is a great example of how symbolic value is not just like I mean, it's not fluke, you know, like, I mean, even like, you know, like, and this is the thing, like, even like, you know, more or less anything, you know, even like smoking cigars is a status symbol, you know, even drinking like, you know, $200 tequila as opposed to $20 tequila, you know. I mean, there might be a different, you know, might be a difference, but you know, it's this symbol of value. Even the you know,
a car that you get sometimes can have this, not necessarily even the performance that you have on the car, but
a Rolex watch, you know,
a Rolex watch, right? Because that's a big one. Because how many people do we know that like have a watch? Right. They literally are accessories, and I don't think many people actually disagree with that, right? But then, what's the difference between the accessory that, well, I suppose the accessory looks nicer, but at the end of the day, it's only really telling you the time. It's no different to, you could spend that money on a ring or a suit, of course. Exactly, yeah. I don't know how much Rolexes are, thousands, right? You could spend that on a suit, and that would in itself cover your entire body. It's a bit. It's like could you imagine me with like, I'm just like all scruffy, like, yeah, you right, mate? How you doing? No, I'm all right. I can afford one of these. I can afford one of these jewels. You know what I mean?
It's like a rapper that has a diamond. It's like a diamond. $30 million diamond that's been embedded in his forehead.
Oh yeah,
and so
it costs.
Right, it's interesting. It's like, you know, why do we find these things valuable? My kind of philosophical take, I guess, is that it's that we're here now with all of these sorts of, I don't know, artificial commodities. This is a great way for us to actually take advantage of it as NFTs and actually be able to reward creators as we believe, you know, for actually creating, you know. And this is what the whole WIP publishing thing is all about. It's about creating, you know, using the sort of the axiom of artificial symbolic value to actually reward the artist. It is fascinating, and
it's similar to tips. Similar.
Well, it is
in some cases,
in some ways,
it's like you want to give them the tips because you want them to survive or whatever.
I know.
Then again, maybe that is the same.
Well, that
because you give to an artist because you want them to survive.
Right. Well, yeah. And it's not even a tip, but like, you can commission work. I support your business. Keep this going. Not only that, but like, you know, if you buy one of our books as an artificially scarce product, then like you will, you can sell it on for a higher price if you believe in the product, as I explained in my video about a week ago.
Plus, a community subconsciously would decide sort of on the value later on in time. It could become more valuable because more people are intrigued in said book.
Yeah, man.
And everything.
It's fascinating. I think another myth that I think we went over on a TikTok a couple of days ago, and I'll put the TikTok in the description later on or in the comments. And it's that's interesting when we talk about Bitcoin mining, and I think this is the current naysayers, I suppose, are very anxious that Bitcoin mining is significantly bad for the environment, and I'll basically just look to what we said on TikTok.
The way that most people make money is large corporations like oil,
oil and beef,
just takes, and that's the money.
Well,
but that's obviously different because I suppose they are getting something particular out of it that they want.
Right.
So I don't know if I can really compare it to that, but
well, I mean, you can when you think about where the focus is, where the dialogue is. It happens to be
the direction.
It happens to be that the dialogue is, this crypto world is being opened up. It's actually helping a lot of people. So it makes sense for like media enterprises to say, oh, actually, we don't like change. It's scary, as it always has been. What's interesting is that Bitcoin miners. Okay, if you want to defend Bitcoin mining, which you can do, and sort of say the whole idea that they're environmentally dangerous significantly is rubbish, is that all Bitcoin miners have incentives to make their mining as energy efficient as possible. That's not the case for oil. Oil has an incentive to use as much oil as possible, and oil's bad for the environment. That is the incentive, and the more oil that gets burned, the better for oil companies from their business.
Because it raise the supply.
As long as their business models rely
more people are going to need the carbon again to heat up the home again, sort of thing.
And it's weird because half of the mining is done in one place in China called Sichuan, and 95% of their of their mining is dedicated to energy efficient ways of doing it, and 75% of mining is energy efficient, has energy efficiency in its mix anyway. It's a very strange.
Plus, it kind of needs to be.
It's very strange,
especially when a lot of people involved in those sort of things are kind of not really up with the status quo in terms of how money works, for example. And then there's always that kind of corruption around money as well. And I would like to think most kind of people involved who would kind of, as far as, have you ever read not the manifesto as such, but the thing when the chap Satoshi posted about Bitcoin, I think he had some kind of like document kind of explaining what it is. And I think in that document, especially at the beginning, you should be able to sort of work out he's doing it because the idea was to decentralize it or whatever, right? It was the sort of idea is to sort of shift the power, I suppose, isn't it? So I think most of those people are green-minded in some way.
I suppose if you were to talk about, I wouldn't say there's an essential connection between green and cryptocurrency, but I do think they correlate quite a lot because most of the damage done to the planet is done through centralized forces. So when you talk about decentralization, they're really bad at that choice. Sorry, Asim, but that's a bit rude. But there's this group called Reagan Network. I've been trying, and they're trying to mix blockchain and land regeneration, and they're doing a great job. Doing a great job. And this is the Reagan Network, and Cosmos are doing something. I think similar in terms of sort of expanding the horizon and connecting and creating a sort of ecosystem of connecting different blockchain technologies together. What's interesting is that with these cryptocurrencies like Matic, Polygon now, and all the rest of them, is they all have white papers. This is what we do. It isn't just that the money is valuable; it's that we have a reason for us using a currency. They're almost auditioning to the public for their currency.
That because that's what you need to obviously get people to buy it.
Right. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Like the US dollar and the pound or the euro or whatever. It's just like
there it is. That's what you're. Hang on. You ever been a kid? You ever been a child? And you're like, Mommy, I want sweeties. And they're like, we can't fucking get any, mate. And you're like, why? Like, we haven't got any money. And you're like, what the fuck is money?
I remember
you have to explain.
I remember being 6 and my mum explaining like what money is. Weird conversation.
I heard it on the train as well at one point. I remember someone was talking about they were like, I had to buy this kind of thing. I had to use my money, and I'm thinking, what are they like explaining exactly? Because it's like they I don't know what's going on. Like,
it is fascinating how like
it's a bit difficult to even explain.
Yeah, I think we do get like indoctrinated,
because we don't really get it, but we just follow it.
Yeah,
a bit like other things, but. Bit like a lot of things,
and you spend most of your conscious life being like, "Oh, this is the way."
That's how it is, of course. Yeah, fucking. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, oh yeah, that happens. Yeah. When we was in Hastings today, it was really hot. So, fuck. It was really hot, and I was thinking about not doing it, and I thought, it'll be deconceptualizing if I did it. It was really hot, so I just fucking did a bit of this, didn't I? Yeah. And no, I don't think anyone really cared either. I was like, oh, people might look, and I was like, what do you do? I'm just cool. I took my shirt off later on.
Yeah,
but at the time it was like nice.
What I think this whole thing is there's a huge iconoclasm with with like the sort of rejection of like traditional ideas, with how things work. And I'm thinking that there is more of that going on here, and in a similar way that happened in the 60s, except there's something happening now, which is very fascinating, and the sort of idea that we can sort of reject like traditional systems of power, I suppose, and that's what I find fascinating about it, I suppose.
Can you? This is slightly on topic. Can you tell me any reason that, I don't know, biologically speaking, just any reason? Generally men's shorts go down to near the knees. Women's shorts like rarely do. They're up here. Yeah. What's the difference regarding a man and a woman with that in terms of?
I don't know.
Is there more? Because I can just about understand when it comes to like there's like tank tops you get that are just for the covers up some tits, don't it?
Yeah.
For a man, they don't really need to as such, so they can just just have a nice.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's this whole thing about like sort of the differences between sexes and what different genders should wear, I suppose. There's that whole thing as well.
And I can kind of see where it is going when it's like, biologically speaking, things are measured in different ways, because proportions on a body and stuff. That's fair enough, isn't it? And then I can suppose, the other argument is that it's because it's what society sort of says, and it's like, well, if a general consensus would be that, but why? You can challenge it, surely.
Yeah,
surely you can challenge it.
Absolutely. I was watching a sort of
It's difficult to like imagine anything different, of course, but I think it's because you're kind of told it but there's not really a good enough reason, I suppose, as to why that is the case.
Yeah, well, they're not.
I was always same as it ever was.
as we kept singing. Absolutely. I mean, to go back to, I want to add a point to about Bitcoin mining. Like even with Bitcoin mining, even then, Bitcoin mining doesn't really fall into like what most people in this space do anyway. And this is kind of the. This is kind of the interesting, it's kind of interesting.
What was that? Sorry, is that meaning not not many people are mining?
Well, not even that, but like, well, maybe that as well. But like when you talk about actually like the blockchain technology and crypto, or whatever, like no one I work with or associate with in this space even uses Bitcoin mining. It's just people. I think. People
I know exactly what.
People love to grab at.
Is it the idea of rejection? Is it just the crypto world as a whole?
Yeah.
Being in public focus.
Yeah.
Bitcoin being like the most well-known one will always be kind of like the example, I suppose, that perception that people will have. So they won't. The average person wouldn't actually know about the technology that is more eco-friendly, such as there's a miner that you can get on your phone. Well, a couple of them.
Yeah.
But I use one called Pi, and it's like, it doesn't fucking like drain any battery. you're like getting up tokens like all day, isn't it?
Yeah, and the idea is that if millions of people use this app and they click at 4 p.m. or so every day, then they're all mining together and they collectively like create the create the value, right? That's fascinating, and again, it sort of just shows that it's always ideological. This is something that I spoke about a lot in this podcast before, like about ideology and how people will generally. They'll then use any sort of rationalization to sort of just appeal to like the way things are. It's like, the way things are as it's interesting. I mean, this is probably a bit off topic, but like I was when I'm talking about like I was reading a bit of Sam Harris's The Moral Landscape a couple of days ago, and it is absolutely insane, like how messed up it is, because the whole idea of the moral landscape, and I will challenge anyone to discuss this with me on why this is absolutely barbaric and I don't say I have to advocate genocide, but like he's basically talking about like how that we should be able to we will be able to objectively discover morals in the brain, and in time we'll be able to determine what societies are more moral than other societies from an objective lens. And he then says, and this is where academic debate ends and the choices affecting the lives of millions of people begin. And that's a terrifying idea.
You could read that as what is it? What's the last part again exactly?
This is where academic debate ends and where the choices that affect millions of lives of people will begin. And that's
does that mean that he's I don't know if he's advocating for it or if he's saying that it will happen.
No,
genocide, right?
Well,
saying like,
I mean, I'm saying it's genocide because you can't.
I agree on that part. Yeah, I'm wondering if he's
saying this is what we should do.
Oh, should do.
Yeah, this is the whole. This is the whole thing with Sam Harris. My point is, Sam Harris also very coincidentally always calls out other cultures, other tribes, other this, other that for their bad morals and not.
We do it we absolutely
and it's just a bloody.
We absolutely do it in the West. Not even to one place, but more than one place. We do it towards Islam, like Muslim societies, in how they handle their business.
Maybe less Israel and Saudi Arabia because we have a rapport with them as English and American people.
Right.
It's always like, and this is the
those folk.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about
that
place. Oh no, I'm not going to say anything. I wasn't going to be like, oh, they're splendid or whatever. I'm just going to say I've never heard of them, but I'm sure they're okay. I don't fucking know. I'm just like digging a hole here.
No, but like
China and places that eat different types of animals and things, and it's like, people get uppity about it.
Absolutely. I mean, my point, I guess, is like, it's just like it's I find it, the fact that Sam Harris believes that he
what's to say he's the objective model?
No, exactly. Let me guess. Sam Harris, Sam Harris probably also has been born into a society that is of the highest morality, and that's a very big coincidence.
That's quite exactly, 100%. Because it's like it'd be surely it's humble in some way to say there probably does. I think there exists a perfect morale. Who is it? Who knows? And it's how are you supposed to fucking know? But it's like there exists an objective morale. Fuck, it's lucky it was my culture.
It's
the exact argument between religions. Oftentimes is that like my religion's right or whatever, which it's a slippery slope.
Unfortunately, it's even more pervasive because like religion, With science, it is just like it's a supreme authority to say like we are right and everything, and without any idea about the biases that go into it. Obviously, Sam Harris has spoken about race realism and the idea that certain ethnic minorities are naturally less intelligent than Caucasians, which is just and it's not even, you don't have to say like, oh, don't say that. It's like, no, it's wrong anyway. Like you don't have to worry about not talking about it. It's bullshit anyway because you're basing intelligence on IQ on a Western model of intelligence. Also assuming that this particular form of intelligence governs human well-being in a certain way. Yeah. It's nonsense, and obviously not including the socioeconomic conditions that brought about maybe certain ethnic minorities not being able to get a better education. All of that, This is something that the same guy advocates, the same guy who believes in objective morality. Like, imagine if he had the power that he might like to have. Like, it's so.
There are people to follow that. Yeah,
right. So. My connection to this is that people will write books. They'll have careers to justify what they just believe, and that belief just empowers all kind of knowledges that they try and create. You know, it's like well, I mean, Descartes is a great example. I always use Descartes. He managed to use. He was like one of the first analytic philosophers, I suppose. He very grounded in science. Like doubt everything that you don't know for certain. That was like a Descartesian idea, basically. Like in the way that he did it. And obviously, he comes to the conclusion that God exists, and the very Christian God, right? And obviously, if he was born in a Hindu society, he wouldn't come to that conclusion either.
He wouldn't, right? Exactly.
And his line of logic is predicated on his initial beliefs, and his initial beliefs support his direction to that conclusion. So it's like, and with crypto, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same thing. People are, people say, and people will use whatever justifications they can to support the status quo, which is why it's always very important to experiment and risk and take chances.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. There's stuff
you
know, and then there's stuff
it's a bit of a weird analogy, but you could sort of like spend all your life almost like sleeping on your back because, like, I don't know, your mum said it's the most comfortable way to sleep, and then you just happen to turn over sometime like, I might try this, and then you love it. It's like a weird analogy, but like you wouldn't know that you like something. Oh, it's like trying food, of course. Like you wouldn't know a particular type of food is your favorite until you have to try it. Absolutely. And it's like as much as you could follow things which have always worked, that's fine. But these not all these things are working, are they? So when things aren't working, maybe it is time to kind of
I mean,
spice it up.
it's a bit of a tough topic because, like, you know, but like it could because like veganism as well, like, you know, like, well, the rest of that, you know, it's another example of, like, you know, a lot of people. It isn't even. I'm not even against eating meat really, but like, but there's the justifications that people will make to sort of say, well, it's natural, whatever it is, and it's a very
a big one is that it's like the same as it was,
same as it ever was,
Like, and the thing is that goes for so many things, not just veganism. It goes for
so many things. Absolutely.
Let's say learning a language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you live in the UK, fucking everyone speaks English. Why would I learn a language? Or something else. What else is relevant?
Well, you can actually use the language thing. You could say, like, well, why would you say it like that? That doesn't make sense. We say it better. You know, like, kind of like, why would you call this and this the same thing? Why would you call
a muffet a tea? You called it a muffet a tea. It's a
strange thing. It's like
you should use this word to call it. Do you remember when people say
even colors, for example, the Twee language? They have like, I think they have, like, you know, like a sort of form of their language. They would sort of call the you know, the sky and the trees the same color because they're both like kind of like a sort of color, like, you know, and obviously there'd be this kind of idea. It's like, why doesn't it make any sense? You have, you know, blah, blah, blah. But you can even include that bias with us. You know, like cyan and navy blue, we both call blue. And it's like, and there is no, obviously, my point is that there's no actual, like, objective way to say, oh, this is what the color is, this is what the color is.
Yeah, there's
but people will just justify their own beliefs with whatever arguments they can.
Yeah, you get different words for everything. You got like table and desk, and they're a bit, but you got zucchini and you got eggplant aubergine, for example. You know, it slightly reminded me.
Yes.
A bit off topic. It slightly reminded me of something with that language thing. Was that like? It's funny when it's sometimes get people say, like, regarding like World War II, if the fight went the other way, we'd all be speaking German now, and it's like that's not. I would be more concerned about I'd be more concerned about the Nazi society than the German speaking. It's funny where the direction is. It's like, we're speaking English. That's the good thing. If we lost the war, we'd be speaking German.
Yeah.
But would have some fine uniform or some shit. I don't know, like, what the fuck? Like,
I mean,
it's funny where the direction is.
What do you think that means? Is it like?
It does sound like it buries something else.
Well, it sounds like I care about my national pride more than I care about the morals of my society.
And the good of, like, what, and just the war not happening in the first place. Yeah. If the war never happened, loads of people wouldn't have died. That's a better thing to say.
Another interesting one is sort of saying, you know, like all the Nazis were, like, you know, probably born terrible people, and it's like, well, no, actually, like,
they were indoctrinated.
You were born in that society, like, you know, you know, if you were born in Nazi Germany, is a very low chance you wouldn't have been a Nazi because you know, and you don't know.
You might have been a Jew, and you might have got fucking killed.
Yeah, absolutely. But you would have been, you know, you'd have lost the First World War, and your people walking around wheelbarrows of money because
you would have been a part of it
high.
Yeah, you would have.
And then along comes someone who straightens out a fair, like sort of claims to straighten out a certain amount of problem, and then finds a scapegoat, and you know, obviously it's awful. You know, I'm not just
we don't,
but like you know, this is what happened. I mean, like, you know, and I think the same thing's happening now with our intervention. Not the same thing exactly, but, you know, the same.
It's still an idea of following something, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like, what, you know. It's this, well, you know, someone's got to be something like barbaric, you know, all of these sorts of things. We go back to sort of Sam Harris. Anyway, what else have we got here? We're on 20 minutes. Let's have a look. You know, with Elon Musk, I suppose it's not like a direct, like, sort of myth of, like, this is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is you know, like the sort of,
he's the crafty villain amongst the entire crypto world. We thought he was the hero. Because I thought to myself, he's the villain. Wait, who is the hero? And I was like, he used to be the fucking hero, but he did a heel turn, and
I just think he's a bit of a jester, really. I think he's
he plays with it, doesn't he?
He plays with it, and
just sees what happens.
And you know, well, there is a kind of myth anyway, because I see these articles of people saying that they lost their life savings due to, like, Elon Musk
Trusting a man they've never met.
Yeah, right. That's exactly it. They, like, you know, like, and again, it's another straw man sort of idea that, like, Elon Musk is pioneering the whole crypto movement, and the whole thing is that while it's nice to get exposure from, you know, a wealthy person like that, if the exposure is just detrimental to the actual progress.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I don't suppose he he would exactly respect community anyway if he does stuff like that. So it's
Absolutely.
like, why even give him any respect for?
Absolutely.
Don't know, whatever.
Well,
it seems like his intentions are not what you think it is.
I'm not even for like disrespecting him in a certain way. I'm just
of course, it's just
I'm just kind of like, why would
giving him so much appeal, right?
Absolutely, giving him the like this the kind of authority to sort of say, like sort of say,
he posts memes.
It's interesting.
more than us,
It's interesting you say about hero, because hero implies authority, and authority implies centralization.
Fighting against authority, you mean, or like you mean a hero having a
crypto hero,
because he's the authority of the people,
right?
Sort of thing.
Or whoever it is,
represents the people.
Whoever it is, it's a fascinating idea to think about. Maybe the point of this is to have no central hero, because we're decentralized.
The hero.
Decentralized hero. This is the thing, and this is when you talk about the metaverse.
It's a collective hero.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Not all heroes are one person.
Exactly.
Not all heroes wear cape. That'd have to be a very big cape for many people.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is the sort of thing with like the recent Black Lives Matter protest. There doesn't really seem to be any particular person leading it. And that can sort of end up with a bit of kind of bureaucratic trouble to sort of work out what the direction is. But it's actually very good in the sense that there's no leader to sort of pull them down a dark path. People are just doing what people care about. There's this empty space in the end where people people might be like, well, where are we going? It's like no, maybe just resist the urge to prop up a hero, and sort of say.
Plus, maybe even resist the urge. When you said like, what do we do now or whatever? Probably resist the urge to even really fucking think about it in some way, because it's like, well, if you've created the community, surely you know what your sort of main intention goal was, and plus that goal might not even necessarily be kind of like have an end. It might just be sort of like continue that representation, because it would keep it in the mind of, well, it depends.
Well, it's interesting because there is a figurehead at the moment that's leading the Black Lives Matter protest, but it's George Floyd, I'd say, and I'm really sorry, I forget the young lady's name who was shot in her own home. But these people are sort of figureheads that lead the movement, I suppose, in a certain way. But they're not. They're not commanding the movement. They're a symbol without any kind of legislation or like principles. You go out and do this. You go out and do this. Which I think is a very bittersweet.
Plus, they're also a symbol of. So we were talking about symbols earlier. They have a different value. They have more of a value because they used to be human beings, and they obviously still have a value of. They still carry a value of human life.
Yeah, they still have that kind of person attached to them. That's a very interesting argument to get into, because an infant isn't really a person yet, but a dead person, it can sort of be.
They used to be as a person. They used to be a person.
Whereas a person's a very
whereas like money kind of like wouldn't represent anything. It's like, why care for it so much in that sense? Because a person is a fucking human being that we share our lives with. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I was talking to. CD, I would have loved to have had him on, but I think we couldn't make it. Sort of talking about I've bloody lost it now. But just kind of the idea of please what were we just talking about? Please refresh me. We're talking about
it was like people being worth value,
right?
And dead folk being still like kind of referred to as persons,
right? Yeah, and also also kind of yes,
the symbol. I think.
Yes,
as well, right?
Yeah, right. I still lost exactly what I was going to say, but it's yeah, it is. I mean, it's fascinating. I really wanted to remember what because I think CD was talking about kind of how I've lost it now, but something like when you have people like leading movements or like and kind of I don't know, sort of
do you think it becomes
centralizing people, like atomizing a person?
Yeah. Do you think with a leader comes legislation, like you said, right? Comes sort of like not strict rule, but comes some kind of like an order, but maybe too much order, because whilst the collective will come together with a common sort of goal in mind, they're gonna have sort of their like veganism, right? People still have different sort of fucking like kind of sub like bits about it, but a leader might say, this is how the fuck it is.
Exactly. And
if you stray from this, like, you're no longer one of us in that sense. You're no longer a vegan if you take a medication.
Right.
Oh, so you're discounting the life that I've lived, not buying leather and not buying animal products, and maybe even like rescuing animals to that extent. Various things like that. Like it's all quite grey, isn't it? Like,
Well, life is bloody.
Oh my god, you know what is another thing? You know,
Yeah.
like Game of Thrones ended and people hated it, which I think wasn't that fucking bad. I think people are mad just because they didn't get what they wanted with the Daenerys, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So
Don't give too much away.
so and so like loads of people like hated it, but I think that sadly extended to hating the whole fucking show.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching it now with a friend of mine, and like it's fucking sick, mate. And it's as sick as it was when I first watched it, because like it's well good TV. And when people die and they can't finish something, like the manga writer for Berserk couldn't exactly finish the manga, but then it's like, well, fucking look at the rest of the manga. It was sick. You still had a lineage, and you still had this franchise full of a world in Game of Thrones or whatever. Just because the last of it was a bit like weird, or you hated it, does that mean that you hate all of it?
It reminds me of like, you know, just general problems with like sort of, I don't know, problems with protests anyway, you know, and goes back to like all, you know, lots of
all these protesters, they all do this and that.
Yeah, like they, you know,
maybe some of them do, maybe the ones you see do. Like,
and Bitcoin mining, I suppose, you know,
Bitcoin mining's bad for the environment. Oh, right. I didn't look at the other ones that are mining,
or even like, you know, kind of like, you know, the gaming PC industry is being destroyed or whatever, which is also a very strange thing to say when you kind of like when you're sort of. I don't know, if you do sort of advocate for the free market in a certain way, you know, it's like it's like do you want to regulate the market?
But you know what's funny as well? The comment to say, the statement to say that the gaming industry is like getting fucked or whatever. It's sort of if a lot of people are buying graphics cards, I think that's a lot of money going towards the industry. So they're going to make more. But I mean, I suppose what they mean is it's frustrating as fuck that a lot of stuff's coming out of stock.
There's so much demand that they become more expensive because they can't be made fast enough, I suppose.
Right,
but
yeah.
It's such a convoluted argument, and then people obviously say, like, you know, this.
It kind of means that you can't participate in it anymore, which technology will probably change because you'll probably get particular styles of graphics cards being, because the thing is with a graphics card is a video card. It shows your literally your video. It shows your visual, right? So it's going to need to process. I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but it is going to. At the end of the day, it's processing like polygons and loading textures and stuff, right? It's loading images. But Bitcoin mining, I don't exactly think is creating images and polygons. That might be like quite naive to say, but it is definitely focused in a different area. And you can use CPU mining your processor, not just your video card. So I'm certain, as more people want to mine Bitcoin, and they not just mine Bitcoin, like that's the only one you can fucking mine cryptocurrency. You fucking like. I'm certain that technology will get specified into particular ways that this is. I mean, I think already, if you go online, you can buy builds, well, rigs they're called, for mining specifically, and they're built differently to gaming PCs.
It's such a strange, complicated argument. The folks that make sense. Got another myth for all of you. The idea, okay, NFTs are just rich artists circle jerking, and with nothing really good, with nothing really, you know, beneficial for us was coming out of it. And this is where we can talk about pizza now, and I think it happened 2 weeks ago. And on Wednesday we had snacks.
Because it's definitely something much grander. Like,
well, absolutely. I mean,
right?
And when you go onto www.rarepizzas.com,
that shit looks cool.
Yeah. You know, and it's fantastic. With the workflow, it's absolutely fascinating. The you know, the $300,000 and $300,000 was spent to donating pizzas to people. You know, people had, I think it's $300,000 worth of pizza being given. You know, like I see that nothing short of a very, 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 very quickly produced and brilliant and decentralized work approach. So not only was the workflow decentralized and so unprecedented, so efficient,
a capitalist should be like
work fast in the company. Not only is it that, but it's also exposing the world of NFTs and this new frontier of the metaverse that me and Phil, our website designer, among other things, we went to a virtual party. Not only those two, but they were also, you know, it was also like a, you know, I consider it nothing short of a great charitable cause to supply pizza to people that were hungry. And, you know, and if you hear Snacks on the Wednesday show, he was talking about the whole thing, you know, like we're not done yet. We want to, the idea is that pizza should be free. We want to make it like that, which is this wonderful convergence of.
Do you remember that dude who I think his wife worked with children? I'm not sure, and they drew how to eat pizza. And like one of the first things was like talk to the person serving your pizza.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's an expansion on even more than a community, really, isn't it? Which is just lovely and nice, isn't it? So it's like, why hate it?
It wasn't a company. It wasn't a company. They're a DAO. They're a decentralized autonomous organization where they.
It's not even a company, right? So
with the sort of traditional hierarchies removed, it is fascinating.
Things work differently that way, don't they? As well, definitely, because it's like, oh shit, I've got to check with the boss.
Yeah,
I can do this. Like, take initiative. You can take initiative more because you would answer the people you would answer to is like your community, not like a figure, I guess, right? Yeah. So you could get peers who agree with you.
You answer to individual people with their different
opinions,
and
different
idiosyncrasies, everything. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah,
it's fascinating. It's and I suppose another thing.
Some of them don't even like pizza.
No, I mean, pizza's not my favorite meal by a long shot, but that's the thing. I can't eat now because I think I'm gluten intolerant. But this is interesting. Like when what was it? Yeah, when we sort of talk about resisting like traditional like work jobs and stuff. I had something else to say. I'm so absent-minded today.
Say about efficiency.
About efficiency, yeah. Well, and also God, I do hate it when I forget things, but like it is all in all fascinating and. This wonderful frontier, I suppose. When people try and identify productivity and say this is the way it has to be done, it's like that it can always be improved.
How did they first come up with the instruction, the recipe, the way to do it? And it's like, oh right, fucking
pizza itself.
No. I mean, how to do. Okay, so someone says, "Oh, here's how you write a song," and you're like, "Oh shit, who fucking invented that?"
Right.
Oh yeah, God.
Right, absolutely. Oh, that's the one.
God came down.
I remember now. Well, another problem is because me and Sid and that had our own little project where we were trying to decentralize the creativity in our local town, and it's called the FCA, the Folks and Creative Archive, which and this is obviously a big problem with this at the moment is that people are going to have to adjust to Discord in order to use it. And I think this is going to have to happen anyway. I think over the next few years, like more and more sites like Discord and maybe other sites, probably Discord's great. Discord's fantastic. Will be it's like, well, why do and people say, why do on Discord? Just do it somewhere else on Facebook. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The actual structure of Facebook doesn't work at all for what we're trying to do.
I wonder if the structure of in now that there's like less lockdown restriction and again it's creative and it's regarding performances, how much more now can we do real physical sort of like community, not even what you would call meetings, because that would be a person creating a meeting, but rather get-togethers of fucking projects, which is what you want to encourage in the first place, of like musicians getting together and collabing and all and other artists.
I would defend the term meeting, I suppose, if it's kind of it has that kind of ring to it. But like if you have, when you have a sort of meeting, like it's just meeting with people, I suppose. It's a meeting. And I think that's
it means more than one
when it's sort of like kind of when it's being used in a sort of way of like the way like a traditional way of doing it, like that can be kind of problematic, I suppose. But like it's
not a corporate meeting is not what I mean, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
More like
or a meeting where we're punished for making mistakes.
When we're reviewing your ups and downs, this quarter,
right? That's
a one-to-one.
Right. That's interesting. And especially the lack of democracy to say, oh well, I'm trying to, we do punish mistakes in corporate hierarchies, which is so strange. When I see people in this, people in this space, and sort of, people take plenty of risks. I take lots of risks, and they're not punished. They're not scrutinized in the way they could be, And the thing is that like all billion-dollar business enterprises are all big risks, and they're all built on lots of mistakes in the past. Like a personal computer like Apple, or selling books online like Amazon. So they're like Tesla. There
are so many failures throughout history that we forget about because they cease to exist after a certain amount of time.
And you forget about the failures, the successes.
Which is actually, I suppose, you move on, isn't it? Like,
absolutely. And this is the thing. It's
so how we live right now was not how it always was. We would only think it's the best because it's the best. It's the only thing we can really compare it to, right? We'd have nothing relative to compare it to. Sure, like you get through history, like, you know, before like a toilet was made, for example, like that must be fucking horrible, right? But
was it horrible? Yeah, that's the thing.
We don't know, I suppose, do we? Right, but we can imagine that it is because of how we are.
That's how based on our perspective. Why was
maybe people from that time are like, whoa, you shit inside, indoors, or I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, like, you know, exactly. It's like, you know, people, you know, before we had phones, like, how would you
contact your
mates? How would you meet
mates?
up with each other?
Yeah.
They're like no one even thought about that. And that's the, you know, it's fascinating.
You have a world. It's a simulation, isn't it? The simulacrum, right? Because you have your world in your head and your views and what you think is how it is. And it's like, oh shit, how did they do this back then? Oh, they probably fucking like, don't know.
Absolutely.
And
then we have, I think, they
had their way. So that's an intelligence thing as well. Like, wisdom's not linear, and it's not your culture.
No.
There are other cultures who are way smarter than you in other ways. You know.
Yeah, there's no standard, and you can't.
Like, you know, like how schools will put the autism label. I mean, obviously autism exists, but I mean to say special ed and autism always used to like fucking kind of mix, and it's like, why is like I don't know why autism should be seen as a disability, because it's like, I know loads of autistic people and they're fucking smarter than me. So it's like I'm the idiot.
Well, people with ADHD. I think I've already called them a meme. I think
you're quick at thinking. You can work at computers really well if you have ADHD, because you move around quite rapidly with like the processes like going on in your head, or like planning out what kind of like you're doing on there at a time, I suppose.
I mean, and I mean, I think, you know, and obviously there are different ways to focus and concentrate and get things done. And we in the West we punish neurodivergence. I think that's mad. Like, you know, like kind of, you know, the idea that
neurodivergence.
Like the idea of like a person with ADHD saying, "Oh, I can't focus. This is boring." You know, it's like,
this is boring.
Of course,
of course, it's boring.
Yeah, like of course, you know, like you know, of course, some people are going to find it extremely boring. It's and this, you know, I mean, like, I'm really kind of getting like really gnashing my teeth at authority, because you know,
can look at a kid with ADHD and they will pay attention to. Wait, oh, they're not focusing. Yeah, they're just not focusing on you, mate. Like, because they're focusing on something more entertaining.
Absolutely. What do? We give them meth, you know? It's interesting. Like, it's like actually like Adderall.
You give kids drugs, like that's what is that about? Like drugs that change your fucking brain chemistry, innit? Like that's big.
It's big stuff, man.
It's not such medication to cure illness, which might have side effects, might not. It's designed to change your brain chemistry.
Yeah, it's not, and in a very radical way, and so,
quite radical way, without really.
For
encouraging towards different areas.
And that's an interesting thing. Mental illness doesn't seem to focus on. It doesn't seem to focus at all on well-being of the person. It's how well they function. And the thing is, the structures can be changed. It's very difficult to, bear with me, engineer people to fit in the functions of society, so that makes them well-being. You know,
let's get you back to work.
They're people. You know, like, these people. You know, there's nothing wrong with people. You know, and the thing is that, like, it's like all structures can't. It's like, well, yeah, you can change if you offer them an alternative, like, you know, like a pizza, like DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, where you can focus on a number of different things at once, and you can work whenever you want. You can just join me whenever you want. It can be it's a much more fascinating way. Like my attention isn't always that great. You know, like I was pretty obsessed with being productive for about a year, and then I think I crashed. You know. And I'm grateful to be able to do something like this, where I can focus my attention on what I can do, depending on what, you know, depending on what my brain is sort of attracted, is sort of is attracted to it at that time, and that's you know, that's brilliant. You know, that's an opening for people. You know, when you have, you know, and I suppose when you have the whole movement of advocating for freelance work that's happening right now, I'm really happy about that, because people can sort of be aware that they can use their skills in ways that they care about. I think this is already moving, and in a way that is commonly recognized and accepted, and I'm happy for that. But there's still a little pushback, and it could be more radical. It could be the case that rather than you just sort of, you know, using crunch time to sort of work on a project for a week, there can be more sort of streamline and flow between certain projects. I think of students, and I think of how grueling, like students who go to university.
Oh man, students like kill themselves over
right, absolutely.
They really work hard, don't they? They have to like some people have to work like a part-time job.
Full time. I spoke to.
Part-time relative to, full relative to like their actual like university schedule. Of course, full during
more people. I remember I was
full when you're not at uni either.
I did a sociology of work course, a module, and and the guy running the course was saying, like, it's funny because when I was your age, the idea of a student working alongside their degree is nonsense.
Right.
It was nonsense, and now it's just common. People will work 20 hours, 30 hours at McDonald's. Every like a week, and do their degree on top of that, a degree that they were sort of maybe pushed into by their parents or by society or whatever. In all of these sorts of ways. And
it's funny that the institution says, "Oh, you should keep following the institution."
Oh, that's very fun. That's weird, isn't it?
Oh, you should. Oh, you just did. Oh, you should go to sixth form or college. Oh, you should go. You're now go to uni.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you should do the next thing above it, the fucking PhD and masters and shit like that.
Yeah, it's mad. I do hear even people I know. It's like, oh, why don't you go to university? It's the best years of your life, and I'm like, is it? Is it the best years? I don't know personally, but the idea that university is set up to be the best years of your life.
It's best for not the reasons it's supposed to be the best. It's the best because you're growing up and you expand and you move away. Oh my god, that might be the fucking big part. Like you move out your fucking sorry. You move out your parents' house and you fucking become a bit more independent.
That's the good part. Yeah, that's the good part.
That's the good
part. And you may live with people your age, and that's all very fun,
And you take drugs.
I'm sure some people do. But that's kind of it, man. And it's
you got going to do lectures. That's not fun.
Well, yeah.
Well,
you got to go to lectures in the pandemic. I mean, that's something. Well, it's funny. It's funny because they used to say you can't do it online. There's no replacement for real lecture. And then as soon as it was, oh, don't worry, we won't refund you at all. It's just as good, and that's crazy. That's crazy. And not to mention,
it really it's like when more people can work at home nowadays because companies are like, oh yeah, okay, fair enough, work at home. I don't know why like so many. I don't. To be fair, I think it's a mix of.
I'm okay with the work from home because you haven't gotten yourself into paying $9,000, $10,000 a year.
I mean a company a company letting you go home to work from home. Where sometimes people would want to do it because it's easier for them, or just I don't know, whatever the fucking reason is. But I think companies now are a bit more flexible. But I think it might have been a trust thing. It might have been because you've got to sort of give company software to an employee who might fuck about with it or whatever, and they trust them using it at home. But it's nicer to know that I guess we sort of got forced to. It's a silver lining, I guess, isn't it? Because obviously a lot of things about rent, obviously, and a lot of wealth disparity comments came up when lockdown and COVID and sort of stuff started to happen. And I think working from home is a nice one.
Yeah, it's been all right. Yeah,
this has been a bit of a long-lived podcast, hasn't it?
Yeah, it reminds me of the old
days.
Yeah. It's been fun. It's been fun having you. Thanks again. And
any final crypto
comments?
Comments.
Do your own research. Don't listen to an authority. The whole thing's about not that. Don't listen to bloody Elon Musk telling you what to invest in. Don't listen to anyone tell you.
Didn't you see an article?
They can offer you a quick way of making money. That's not how it works.
Did you see an article and it was like, oh, it's going down crypto, and you looked at the price because what you saw was the fucking ad was on Facebook or something, right? And the majority of people aren't gonna then go, oh, really? I'm gonna just double check that because you don't really fucking double check.
If you want to know what you're getting into, but the thing is, you don't even have to invest in crypto to be part of the world. You can. There are so many things going on.
Don't have to spend a lot of money either. Just chuck a tenner in it.
Well, for sure. But exactly. But and you can the point is people can. No, you do the thing, learn about it yourself, and for God's sake,
get your own knowledge.
Get your own knowledge. Don't And don't be so quick to dismiss it, but don't be so quick to like, I don't know, jump on Shiba coin just to be like, oh, this might be a quick get rich quick scheme. There's not.
It's the one people are talking about.
This isn't about get rich quick schemes. This is it's not. It's
bigger than that. It's the society behind it.
It's not even too much about making money. It's not even so much about like, you know, making lots of money. It's about if it's not about money, it's about decentralization, and money just happens to be the current power of the world, and that's why Bitcoin, you know, if the power was in something else, then it'd be something else.
As much as any currency is a value, there's some symbolism about how there is value in itself in kind of everything else that comes along with cryptocurrency, such as changing society as how it is currently. And I think that's beautiful.
That's what they say.
That's beautiful
in Germany. Is that a German? It's like a German meme. You know, they say Gestalt, and I think that's beautiful. I don't remember. Maybe. I thought for a moment you were thinking about in the French. They don't say "I love you." You say "You are missing from me," and I think that's beautiful.
Oh man, that shit is hilarious. Yeah, I was like,
but then they use German. German has been told to be quite like an aggressive.
That's a concept, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't know, mate. What's funny is Scottish sometimes is like you're fucking, you know, but then most call centers are based in Scotland because they talk rather soft. They're rather nice soft voice. Depends where you are in it. I mean, you know, it's
one more thing.
Grey.
Speaking of accents, I was in Ireland a few years ago, and my cousin said, "Oh, I don't think I have an accent." That's interesting. So we were recording. I don't think I have an accent. I think I just talk neutrally.
And they were like,
"That's funny." I mean, like the idea that you're talking like neutral.
Anyone thinking they could talk neutral is
that's funny. That's funny. That's really funny.
Like it's not a spectrum already.
Well, absolutely. Of course. You know, it's
an Irish person.
It's neutral because you're a fish in water. You know, that's the thing. Yeah. Like it's not neutral at all. Like, you know,
this fish is the fishiest fish, and he's not seen any outside. I was trying to compare a fish analogy to like the not knowing what you don't know or whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Knowing in the outside world.
Yeah, well, that's the point.
That's and be like, oh yeah, I can breathe out there because why else? Why couldn't I breathe out? Why wouldn't I be able to breathe that way?
I the fish in water, you know, the fish doesn't know what water is.
No, of course,
because the water, I don't know. You know, that's what. Like,
fish out of water is.
And this is the problem. And with ideology, is the problem. You know, like, you know, people who are so involved in ideology can't see the ideology because they don't. Because that's all they're fish in water.
It's Plato's book or something, isn't it? It was that's like the earliest known sort of simulation related thing, and that was like the word. When you think of simulation now, you think like computers, and it's like there's mental simulation in there because you have an idea of the world. And you're in the cave.
CD would like you.
I read a bit about it because all I knew at the first was what you told me, which was the shadows on the wall is their life. That's all they see or whatever, right? It was pretty interesting how I read about it more. I think the cave is sort of like here, and there's a bit of an extension of here, right? So I think you have to maybe climb. That's irrelevant. Someone leaves the cave, and it's really bright as well and shit, right? So their eyesight would have to change as well. So the dark cave, animals that grow like moles and what have you, they can see in the dark because like it's all they fucking lived in, right? When this person leaves the cave, they find that let's say they hypothetically enjoy that society and they're like, oh shit, there's a whole world out here.
Yeah.
When they go back in, they're like, oh fuck, like my boys, I can't see you anymore, I'm blind. It's so fucking dark in here. It's so dark in here. Anyway, you need to come out because like there's a whole world out there. And they're like, whoa, bro, you're blind now because you went in the fucking sunlight because they're scared of the sunlight, I think, because they're living in the cave so much. It's blinding to them if they hypothetically, because they're human beings, if they went out and they're blind. Yeah, they're blinded by this like. I think that's meant to be symbolism. I think when you read the book a bit in more detail, it's got those metaphors to say the sunlight is the bad thing the people in the cave don't like, and when, you know, extending on that, of course, their mate who went out, got blinded, comes back, they see him they only see him as a victim of like what's out there, so it only emphasizes what they're believing in the first place.
Yeah, there's a poem by Emily Dickinson which says like the truth must dazzle gradually or every man be blind, which is fascinating because she uses lightning things, but the thing about the truth, you know, she's saying that the truth can blind you on the surface, but it's also confusing because things can't dazzle gradually anyway. That's the point. And there are all these sorts of like, it's a fascinating poem. Like, you know, tell the truth, tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit. Like, yeah, it's a good poem. But like the thing about Dazzle Gradually, what she's explaining is like, you know, the truth is contradictory, you know, and the poem itself is describing truth and an example of what truth is about. It's very, you know, it is fat.
Even this first sentence is slant to say not quite.
Yeah, well, and
it's like tell all the truth.
Yeah.
But tell it sort of like not
tell all the truth.
Not quite.
Well, is it tell the whole truth, or is it tell everyone the truth? There's that as well.
Oh shit! It's ambiguous. Tell all the truth.
Right. So success in circuit lies. Is it saying it lies there, or it's deceiving you? It's a fascinating. It's really
double meaning, right? Yeah,
very fascinating poem.
Too bright for our infirm delight.
The truth's superb surprise, as lightning to the children eased with explanation kind. So is, you know, and is the lightning there's so much going on. As lightning to the children eased, you know, are the children explaining to the lightning? You know, normally children would be afraid of lightning, and adults would, you know, ease them.
But
the lightning itself is easing the children, and this is it's a fascinating poem. It's really good. There's a video essay I might link, which is about that, which is really good. Anyway, I think we're on an hour. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks. This has been absolutely wonderful, and I hope to see you again on Wednesday's show, and we'll have some very fun stuff for the Token Smart Edition. Please, if you want to know more about what we do, or you know, my general opinions, or people in the space's general opinions, then please watch more and share with a friend, share with someone who absolutely flipping hates cryptocurrency and NFTs. I think it's nice to get people in the space already hearing about this and reinforcing, but like, people outside the space should have these sorts of opinions. You know, should hear more nuanced opinions rather than point to the moon, which is what you know.
Questions have to be the questions from the skeptics have to be asked for the people involved to justify themselves. I suppose, you know.
Yes, absolutely,
and vice versa.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's great discourse.
Tell us why
that's great discourse.
You don't believe, like the US dollar is like worthless.
Oh, and by the way, if there are any Sam Harris apologists watching this, I'll invite you on, and I will tell you why he's a maniac. Thanks, everyone. See you Wednesday. Buenos noches. Buenos noches.